I don't want to set the world on fire.
Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of us slowly descending into madness, equine-based madness. My name is Chris. With me here today,
Robert, and you have just been welcomed to the most recent episode of the Foally of Man. This is episode 18, and in this episode, we will cover Chapter 20 in the fanfiction by K-Cat known as Fallout Equestria. In this show, we seek to delve into the story. The crux of the show is Chris here is a...
Brony.
And I am not, but I do love video games and Fallout, and I guess over time, still not a Brony. Still not happening.
But it's fine. It actually works better for us because we want to make sure that he is so separated, because the whole point of this is to make sure that the actual show, or the book, holds up to somebody who has no interest and no background in colorful horse-based merriment.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. But we have a big announcement to start at the beginning of the show, and I would just like to say that as of this week, our buddy here, Chris, has been given an absolute clean bill of health from his heart surgery. So everything is going on fine. So I propose a toast to you, Chris. This is it's not really your first beer, but we'll call this your first beer back since your surgery.
First beer on camera.
All right, here we go. Prost! Which is a good question. In the My Little Pony world, were they to toast with an alcoholic beverage like a cider, what would they say as a toast? It's not clops.
No, I would actually leave that up to the audience.
That's a good one.
What do you think a good cheer is?
A toasting term.
Yeah.
Huh. I would guess that it would have something to do with Pinkie Pie, since she's the party monster, right?
Yeah, but she's not she is nationally renowned now, but these are things that go back for centuries.
That's right. Would have to go back. Well, and she's not royal, so I mean, she's just I guess now I don't know. You know
Hero by happenstance.
Yeah, sure. All right, so Chapter 20, Behind the Curtain. Can I do something for you? Or to you?
I'd rather you not.
Oh, man. Yeah. So this is the chapter, in a lot of ways, we've been working towards. I had a feeling from the beginning that we'd have a segment like this.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can only go on with a Virgin of the Wastes so long before you no longer are a Virgin of the Wastes.
Yeah. Well, it's a shame when they reach that volcano, they can't chuck little Pip in anymore.
Maybe that's for the best.
Is that a spoiler? Well, I mean, it's in the episode. Sex happens. Sex happens all the time. But in this story specifically, in this chapter, sex happens.
Somebody got laid. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, though. Let's try to get this in the
let's also
order.
say got laid and paid because she inherited all of Monterey.
Well, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, fine. Well, all right. Then let's get right on into it.
Because first off, she's down and she hears... she finds the generators that are down there that kind of saved the building initially, which is the reason that Tenpony Tower is survived while every other building is a husk.
And Little Pip gets rounded up by the police, and she just assumes that because of what Steelhooves did in the last episode, that she is being implicated in what's his name? Who was eaten by the zombies. That's right, Grimstar being eaten by the zombies. She assumes that she was going to be roped into that. But she finds out actually when she gets to the office that there is, they just want to talk to her. And that's when she hears over the radio broadcast, and actually hears Steelhooves on the radio saying that Grimstar sacrificed himself to save all of the ponies in Tenpony Tower. Yes. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Beautiful. It's just like, oh, I get to screw you over, and you can't even be mad at me.
Oh, my gosh.
Partially because you're dead.
Yeah, but it's screw over, but also, the ponies, he protects the ponies of Tenpony Tower by them never knowing that somebody that they trusted was going to kill them all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So in a way, what he does is actually quite merciful, I feel.
Well, Grimstar wasn't Rotting Tail.
Huh. Well, okay. So what did Grimstar do bad?
Grimstar was the one who actually who hired the Griffins to kill all of the ghouls. But the thing is in Steelhooves' mind, he's like, well, both sides of this were trying to play each other to their own deceptive and murderous ends. So the best thing to do is to clean house. And that clean house he did.
Then I apologize for my confusion.
Yeah. I mean, Rotting Tail was already dead.
Yeah. No, okay.
Welcome to Fallout Equestria. Rotting Tail was dead to begin with.
Welcome to Fallout Equestria. Everyone's dead. Everyone dies. Everyone's going to die. Yay! All right. But anyways, what a great way to kind of turn things around. And so Little Pip's like, well, I guess, here I am, this hacker type, or lockpicker type. That I guess they're just assuming they're going to question me. But it turns out actually Little Pip meets not a colt, again, a stallion, with a scroll on his flanks, who is essentially like a lawyer stallion, a lawyer pony.
Yeah.
And what he's walking through Little Pip in the process is that because Monterey Jack, the accused, who is now dead, was trying to rob Little Pip, that after his death, Little Pip, after paying for his the expenses of his death and
after those were removed from the account,
all of his debts, all that sort of thing, Little Pip gets the remainder of his estate and his caps and all of his possessions. So now we understand why Monterey Jack did what he did. It was literally one last, like, you had hinted at this, but I didn't know what you meant, that it was going to be one last fuck you to Little Pip.
Yeah, because, think about it this way, okay?
And he'd already kind of given up on life. We find out, how his wife died and that sort of thing.
Well, think about it this way. You have someone who goes by a strict code of honor. They want to see themselves as a good person. Yeah. They try to raise themselves as a good person in their eyes, and they see everything taken away by somebody who they see is lower than scum.
Yeah.
So what do? They uphold their own code of honor by screwing over that person out of their own vengeful view of how the world should work.
The lawyer pony even says, I've never known Monterey Jack to be a liar. Again, that's his
known.
Right. Well, but again, that's his virtue. It's that honesty. That's his code that he holds himself to.
Yeah.
But anyways, what Little Pip realizes is that Little Pip is the one, because she will possess the property. She's the one who's forcing out the children.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, darn, that would have fucked me over if I hadn't already planned for it.
The lawyer pony even says, oh, well, I guess I lost a bet. I don't remember what the question was, but he realizes that Little Pip didn't realize she would inherit all of that.
Because he made a bet that she had done it intentionally to
that
try
it was
to...
a ploy.
It was a unicorn mind trick.
Yeah. Again, and just showing what little they understand. Again, unicorns do have tremendous power, so I guess it certainly could be within the realm of possibilities. But Little Pip, as we know, is very limited in the types of spells that she can cast.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave anything out here. But obviously didn't do that.
No, she never did that.
Had no idea.
No, she very clearly.
I remember what I wanted to move on to next. So he says that generally citizenship in Tenpony Tower takes 2 years to do. But
I think it's just multiple years.
He says 2. But he says, but for you, what you've shown, what you've done, we could probably expedite that and you could get your citizenship in a year. But he says, it is my job as legal counsel to recommend to you at this time that the best thing for you to do is to probably sell off the property and collect the proceeds from it.
Yeah, because you can't do any business here. All you're doing is going to be...
Right. Until you're a citizen, you can't run the business. You'd have to pay someone else to run the business anyways.
And still pay taxes on it,
Correct.
and you wouldn't be making as much income.
Yeah,
regardless, who would want to live there?
It's very bureaucratic. It's insanely bureaucratic when you think about it.
Well, think of it this way. This building and its inhabitants survived. This was a ministry. This was a bureau, a government bureau that had been turned into a civilization. What are they going to be filled with?
Yeah.
Bureaucracy.
So Little Pip, when she gets back to her room, is, pissed at the situation that she'd been played by Monterey Jack even after his death. And knocks a saddlebag into the wall, and there spills out the last of Pinkie Pie's menthol collection that she had.
Months,
just tons of them. And so Little Pip, angry at herself and what these drugs had done to kind of destroy her life and her friendships and hurt them, she begins to dispose of them, pouring them out into the toilet and flushing them down. First one is, this is a couple of weeks, and then the next one is, this would have been months of supply, and one right after the other. And then she comes to the very last 10.
Yeah, and she just starts crying about it. And this
what if I need one? What if I need one more to help my friends?
This is the perfect thing. This is actually one of the perfect examples that somebody I was reading said was addiction.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the classic sign of addiction. Getting rid of it all, except when you come to the very last, and you're like,
"That's the
but
end."
Should I really? But what if I need it again?
Well, think about people we've known with cigarettes. this is my last cigarette. Okay, no, this is my last cigarette. I'm throwing away the pack. And then they find a cigarette, or somebody has one and they offers it to them. It's the same thing with the addiction.
Yeah.
They can't. I mean, I've known so many people that have wasted their health and their lives trying to kick the habit for 30 years. My feelings are, if you're going to do it, just do it. And, just that's your thing.
Some people have personalities there. They can do it, and some people don't. It's just
the other thing, I feel like every smoker I know, cigarette smoker, I should clarify. I don't want to be one casting stones, because I've smoked cigars and I'll smoke a pipe occasionally, but there's no habit
it's
to it.
It's social. There's no.
I probably do it a half dozen times in a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like once a month thing. I haven't had any kind of tobacco product in
months.
But
Maybe
again,
6
it was
months.
the same. It's the same thing where I'd have one a month just to kind of be with a crowd of people and hang out. I mean, it's not.
You're sipping scotch, you're smoking a cigar. That's what you do. It's what, it's the typical, gentleman thing
Don't
to
tell
do.
my cardiologist.
Well, it's too bad that it's here on record for everyone forever. Well, every time you say cigar, we'll just replace it with banana.
That won't be helpful.
And smoked, we'll change to eat. I haven't eat a banana in like 6 months.
I would eat a banana about once a month. Wait.
Now, this banana that you're talking about. Anyways, but that's what I mean. So I feel like everyone I know who has that addiction, it's like they're always trying to quit. And they never quit.
Yeah, I really wish I could. It's one of those situations where you really wish you could help the people, but you can't. And
ultimately, it has to come from within.
When she is debating over this
last
10, Homage walks in, which frightens her, and
she drops it in the toilet.
So it happens anyway, but it also kind of just breaks her enough to where she just breaks down and starts sobbing openly. Which, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of psychological things happening very quickly. So,
and then we're gonna glaze over this pretty quickly. Homage takes Little Pip back to her place, and cooks her dinner. And Little Pip didn't realize how hungry she was, and so
cooks her dinner, and then they wake up the next morning.
Yeah, nothing else in between.
Not a thing. Not a fucking thing.
And then, so the next morning, Little Pip asks Homage for the black opal.
Yeah, she's like, "Look, I really hate to be this kind of person, especially after that.
But
after that, nothing that happened.
I want to be honest. I mean, she's just completely straightforward.
Yeah."
And asks, and so then Homage says, "Well, what did she say?" She said, "How do you know about that?"
She's like, "I have a friend who knows and wants it." And Homage, to her credit, actually does say, "Look, I've got to get back to my job. You've got to get back to yours, and this is part of what you're doing. This is part of your job now, so I understand." And so she gives her the opal.
What could have been a very awkward situation with betrayal and theft and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So it's it's really good that Little Pip was upfront about it.
Well, and I'm glad we didn't have betrayal 2 episodes in a row.
Especially Little Pip betraying, possible or actual lover.
Yeah. Moving on.
But she also receives the Pinkie Pie statuette.
That's right. Well, Homage says, "I have another gift I wanted to give you anyways. But consider this separate," and gives her the Pinkie Pie statuette. And Little Pip, when she wraps it up in the cloth to carry it, immediately starts feeling the effects, almost as if she had taken a menthol.
Yeah, the perception bobblehead.
Mm-hmm. The perception, and she says that kind of explains some of the feelings she had with the Twilight Sparkle, and as well. So it's kind of the general feeling. And she said it tasted like, and she said, "I have nothing in my mouth, but it tastes like I just took a bite of like a fresh apple." Mm-hmm. Which is it's fascinating.
It was under E for elements of harmony.
Yep. And what's interesting is so in Fallout we never really experience that. It's just like you pick up the statuette and it's like boom, wah, here's your +1 to your charisma or whatever you are now more effective in talking to women or whatever it winds up being. So, but
Lady killer.
It's nice to have that explained, fleshed out a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's see here. Where are we moving on? The Pinkie Pie pig figurine.
She also gives her a quest to reconnect the
observation station in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, Bree laughed at that one pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'll be walking around the house and I'll be listening to it, and my wife will hear just some of the esoteric pun terms and thinks it's funny. Here's the deal. I was talking to her today. I really think she would actually like the vanilla or whatever you call the original, like My Little Pony.
Yeah, she probably would.
The funniest thing is, can we talk a little bit about the Hot Diggity Demon videos? Like, Bree, for the longest time, thought those were the new My Little Pony because she hadn't been exposed to anything else.
And he watched those things like a madman.
Because I think
so she's like, I don't think
hilarious.
I would really like it. It seems really adult. And we're like, wait, no. This isn't actually the show.
Right. Well, and truth be told, she's been exposed to all of the other spoofs. Like, she saw the Two Snacks with the Two Best Sisters play, which, if any of you haven't seen them, they're absolutely hilarious.
Of course, if you were somehow under the, like, partially occluded by the rock, which allows you to see us and not see them.
Right, yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, but anyways, I can't recommend it enough. They're really funny. And I already liked Two Best Friends play. I think Matt and Pat are really funny. So to have the, Celestia and Luna, which I didn't even realize until like a month ago that it was Celestia and Luna. I just thought they were some made-up characters or some shit. I was like, oh, those are interesting ponies.
Yeah, no. Got the wings and the horn.
Oh, Kenpachi Ramasama.
Okay, so also, she gives Little Pip the Fire Lance.
Right, and what does the Fire Lance do?
The Fire Lance is from Fallout 3. If you there's like a percent chance of happening.
Kebab?
No, the Fire Lance is a percent chance of happening. It happened the first time I played the game, if you can imagine it. So I was really confused. But when you go down to the what is it called? The mart, the grocery store.
Yeah.
There is a percent chance that you will see an explosion and then a smoke pillar go down, hit the bus, and in the remains will be the Fire Lance.
Wow.
And it is an alien blaster that's unique that has like a 100% chance of ashing.
Wow. And so which one was this? Which game?
Fallout 3.
Fallout 3, of course. Sorry, best Fallout.
Triggered.
We also find out that the zebras are quite superstitious about the gods in the skies.
Yes. Makes sense because think about it. Actually, never mind. He wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I take that back. That's exactly true. He wouldn't know. He had no idea. So, as coming from somebody who's in that position, welcome to one thing that would really confuse some people.
And we also learn about the zebra death cult.
Yes. And kind of just the fact that they're kind of like that. And they worked with the 4 stars to create 4 stars, which in the story took out Manhattan.
All right, and I'd like your explanation on this because I listened to it a couple times, but we find out about the creation of the Enclave armor, the Pegasi armor.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite understand all of the specs of it. So what's the main differences between the Enclave armor?
Much lighter. It's protective. It doesn't protect as much.
I was going to say it's less armored, right? I remember
less armored. However, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to up armor without impeding mobility.
Right. So kind of like the Chinese stealth armor.
Yeah. It's very, very similar to the Chinese stealth armor because in the game there isn't that much of a variation between the Enclave power armor and the regular power armor over the fact that the Enclave power armor just has better stats.
Correct. Well, and that is one thing. So to talk about the game for a little bit, that's one thing I liked about Fallout 4 with the customizability is that you actually have meaningful upgrades to Enclave armor, like the Tesla coils and it's actually significantly different than the regular power armor. That it's meaningful to have Enclave armor and
that's with the fire armor, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really neat stuff that's involved with that.
But as well, the Enclave armor has a scorpion tail.
Yeah.
For use
so
close quarters combat.
We also find out, and it's not surprising to me, but Little Pip was like, "Oh yeah, I really should have figured that out." But Little Pip is talking to Steelhooves about Watcher, and Steelhooves hints at knowing Watcher and having worked with when two people have when two ponies have lived as long as we have, you're going to cross paths.
Yeah.
And it's like no duh.
Yeah, so he knows who Watcher is and he knows what's kind of going on with their relationship.
And so Little Pip gets in touch with Watcher and says, "Hey, I have your black opal." And
Watcher's like, "Okay, give it." And she's like, Nah.
I'll deliver it to you personally, but I want to meet you.
Yeah, we're meeting in person. We're not.
Little Pip expecting Watcher to say no. Watcher says, yeah, it's about time.
He's very reluctant at first. He's like, but you did the thing, and I did the thing, so now you give me the... She's like, no. I'm taking...
Quid pro quo, Christopher.
Mr. Freeman.
Mr. Freeman.
You have a problem with authority, Mr. Freeman. Wait, that's wrong.
And so we also find out that the Sky Bandit has been repaired. I love the scene. Calamity crawls out from under the Sky Bandit, covered in grease. It's like, yeah, so we'll be able to use this thing from now on.
Oh, yeah. I've experienced that scenario when you get out from underneath the car engine and you're like, how do I have oil? How?
So when we get you another fun weekend car again, wouldn't it be fun to skin it with like Rainbow Dash's paint scheme?
I'm tempted.
And so like the racing stripes down the middle are a rainbow, and you've got the Carolina blue, like sorry, or sky blue, whatever version.
Sky blue for people who are not in the U.S. and don't know what North Carolina versus Duke is,
or Carolina versus State. It's
that
classic
too.
Red versus blue.
Or blue versus darker blue?
Yeah, versus darker blue, yeah. Well, that's one of those things. I don't think there's any mystery to anybody that you and I are from North Carolina. They don't need to know exactly where. I know, right? We've been doxxed. But it is funny that they're, generally in conversation, people say you're not supposed to talk about what two things? Religion and politics. In North Carolina, though, the two things you don't talk about are college basketball and barbecue, because everyone has an opinion.
Very true.
It's nutty. People are more comfortable talking about religion and politics in the state than they are about college basketball and barbecue.
It's true.
It's
I don't talk about it with anyone.
Yes,
I'll talk politics just fine.
It is a stereotype about North Carolina. It is absolutely true. And we're not even going to talk about worst Carolina. I'm not going to touch on that at all. Those weirdos put mustard on their pork. It's just...
Okay, we're gonna start getting into some
I know we're not talking.
I
know.
Let's bring it back to the
okay.
story.
So the Balefire Phoenix that they saved before has become a companion to specifically Velvet Remedy.
Yeah,
seems kind of latched on.
Yeah, it likes the bird that's on her flag.
What does she name it? Pyrelight. Pyrelight.
Which makes me actually curious. I'm certain the term Pyrelight has probably existed for a longer period of time, but I almost have a question for K-Cat. Did you ever play MechWarrior 2? Do I get that from this? Because in MechWarrior 2, there's a level and a song, a theme to the level called Pyrelight.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like one of the most popular themes from the game.
Well, we did find out from the comments last week that apparently a ton of our audience know about Dungeons and Dragons. So I feel like we should. I feel like at some point we should do a sidebar, kind of maybe talking about I guess at some point maybe we need to do a playthrough of like a My Little Pony tabletop.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there is one.
Yeah, I know people who do it, so.
Yeah, so, and what's so funny is that it's part of the Wizards of the Coast world. So, like, My Little Pony creatures exist alongside the Monster Manual.
Which also means that if you come across a talking pastel equine in Dungeons & Dragons...
Oh, boy.
It's canon.
Yeah, well, so secretly, we're running a couple of campaigns right now, and I would love to see a My Little Pony character come up as like a final level boss.
You know he wouldn't do that.
Or an Ursa Major.
He would be so confused by that.
All right, so we do need to get to the end. So there's a couple of things we need to cover. So Fluttershy is the betrayer. And we learn the motivations behind Fluttershy is that being the Minister of Peace, that Fluttershy just wants peace.
By any
means necessary. Yeah. Rainbow Dash wanted to win. Applejack wanted to protect.
Twilight wanted to be seen as doing well in her mentor's eyes.
Right, and Fluttershy, yes, to the goddesses. And then Fluttershy just wanted there to be peace. And so what Fluttershy did, Fluttershy developed the mega spell and then gave the technology to the zebras. Mm-hmm. But she assumed that if they both had this super powerful weapon, no one would use it.
Yeah, this is a conversation I actually had with somebody in the comments. Mutually assured destruction is supposed to guarantee that nobody uses it. At least that's how it's worked out for us so far.
But not when people help them smuggle it right into Manhattan.
Well, the idea is you can actually bypass the mutually assured destruction if you have a first strike, which is so efficient that it negates the enemy's ability to strike back, which didn't happen. I mean, we obviously know from the aftermath, no, zebra lands are fire. But the problem comes down to also, we just got to say it, this is a species who had been at war for less than a generation, which was the first major war in their history.
Yeah.
Ever. As opposed to humans who have been warring since we first stepped foot. I mean, as long as what's the classic saying?
Step
As long
hoof.
as there's two people on the earth, somebody was going to want the other one dead.
Yep.
And so we've always
our
kind
nature.
of we're very familiar with war. Ponies not so familiar with war. Of course, they're going to push the big red button.
Yeah. And last but not least, as we climb high into the clouds heading towards Watcher's hideout, we first notice that Calamity gets quite nervous about being above cloud level.
Yeah.
This is not a good place for us to be.
No.
Because he understands how dangerous the Pegasi are.
Yep, and how protective they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we reach the cave of Spike,
Yes.
the dragon.
Yeah.
The 200-year-old, fully grown dragon.
Yep.
Hello, little Pip.
Hard.
It's, so I have to say that considering my very first guess, Yahtzee, motherfucker! Hell yeah!
And I love that you completely dissuade when I said, yeah, that's a good guess.
Son of a bitch! I just figured I needed to keep guessing to keep it interesting. But god damn it, that was the first thing I said was Spike. So, come on. But that was still, I should say to K-Cat, that was very well written that you didn't, I mean, the only hint is that it had to be somebody who knew them.
Yeah, the reveal
there's
was
no
fantastic.
implication of sex. There's no other, I mean, there really aren't any
The memory
hints.
orb from Spike's perspective would have given the hint away if there was enough time for the brain to kind of internalize it and start figuring it out. So the fact that the reveal was literally right afterwards didn't give somebody the time to respond
And
go, whoa.
I'll be honest, I'm really excited about the next chapter. Because here's the second dragon we've met, but a friendly dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Not Mr. Topaz, who was like, I eat diamonds, I'm going to eat you too.
Eat diamonds and ponies.
Yeah. So I'm really excited because also the perspective of Spike is going to be really interesting. Excuse me, didn't want to burp into the mic. It's the bubbles. They sneak up on me. So I'm really excited about that. And so now we know who Watcher is.
Yeah, I mean, the perspective of somebody who's merely watched from that kind of alienated, distant perspective for 200 years. For the past 200 years, is just crazy.
Think about it. So he's always been kind of an alien creature. It's a pony world, and he's a dragon. He's always been a watcher.
Yeah, distant.
Yeah, he's always been a sort of. I hate to use the term outsider, but in a group of ponies, you're going to inherently be an outsider.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to say they do touch on that later, because there's more perspectives of Spike, at least one other perspective of Spike pre-war, and it's kind of him being like, why don't you all just stop? Why don't you just go back to being the way it was? And they're like, we can't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You got to remember, so dragons, like elves, their perspective on the importance of what happens in time is much greater. They have such long lifespans. I mean, even in Dungeons & Dragons, dragons live to be 1,000+ years old.
Same in this universe.
The squabbles of what happens in 30 years' time doesn't matter to them, just like an elf. Since they're undying, essentially, have very long lives, they see the petty squabbles of humans or ponies as uninteresting.
Dragons are also aloof. It's just you don't question them on it because they can breathe fire.
Correct. Yeah. That breath weapon is dangerous. So that was chapter 20.
Yeah.
A lot happened in that chapter.
Let it be known, you said you were excited for the next chapter. That is actually the last chapter of the second book.
And how many books are there?
5.
Oh, there's 5. Wow. So Watcher was revealed pretty, I mean, of all things considered, pretty early on.
Things start getting way up there. There was somebody mentioned in this. Technically, I think 2 people, but definitely one person mentioned in this who is going to have a great importance later on. So just wait. It's going to start getting really terrifying very soon.
Wow. When we
believe me, there's more to come, which stands all on its own as one of the best some of the best aspects of the book, and could probably, if the fact that you'd have to kind of build the world space, could stand on their own as sequences of events. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, great work. Very, very good chapter.
So, Christopher, do you realize what time it is?
I believe I know.
You sure? Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Is your body ready?
My body is ready.
For the pony pun of the week.
And what is it this week?
The pony pun for the week, Chris, thank you for asking, is going to be very difficult for me to pronounce. Thanks, by the way, but I'll give it my best. The pony pun for the week is Constantinople and Istanbul.
Yes.
Now, is it Istanbul or Constantinople?
Well, I think it was originally Constantinople, and then it eventually just transferred culturally to Istanbul.
But I thought it was Constantinople.
It is Constantinople.
Now, you got to tell me, is this one that you came up with yourself?
Not entirely, but it is one that I realized I should use. This isn't an official one, but this is one that's kind of like name pony versions of places. And so there was all this, and I think Constantinople was one of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Istanbul.
That's great. All right. How about some listener questions? All right. Oscar Holt says, since you were geeking out about D&D in this episode, I will keep my question related to that. By your opinion, if the main cast of the fanfic were characters in a D&D campaign, what classes would they be?
So this is actually pretty. It is actually pretty easy, I think.
Go for it.
Okay, so Calamity is very clearly going to be a barbarian.
Really? I'd say Calamity would be a ranger.
A ranger, that's right.
Yeah,
I
sniper rifle.
Yeah, ranger. Velvet Remedy is going to be a bard.
Okay.
Because the singing and the magic use.
Steel Hooves would be the barbarian.
Yes. I had paladin.
Ah, wow. Yeah,
Paladin.
that's a good...
Paladin.
Yeah, literally, Steel Hooves, paladin.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Shame on me.
And then Little Pip is going to be a rogue.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, technically they're all going to be horses.
Is there anybody that's a pure caster?
We don't have
like
one
Velvet. What did you say Velvet Remedy was?
Velvet Remedy is going to be bard. Yes.
Because of the healing
Singing.
abilities, I was going to think of like a cleric.
But singing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she'd be and bards do have the ability to heal. At
And
least
she also uses a shotgun.
In 5th edition, they become quite powerful healers.
Yeah, and she still uses a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, there's no pure caster in the group. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, of the original ponies, I guess Twilight Sparkle would be the cleric.
Mm-hmm.
She's the most religious. She's a natural caster. Interesting. That's really interesting. So,
has a divine connection to God.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Has that connection? Has that? Wow. Is there anybody we're leaving out?
No.
Wow.
Wow.
That's incredible, Chris. Wow.
Wow, this has been a conversation.
Wow, it's time for another question.
I'm Owen Wilson. I'm going to state the obvious every single time something's happened.
Listen, muchacho, it's time for another question.
Oh, look, there's questions on the screen
Oh,
over
wow.
here.
Have you met my brother, Luke?
Oh.
At least that's one reference some people could get. We were talking about the show about other stupid voices we do, and we were both doing Norm Macdonald, and I was like, yeah, but the only problem with doing Norm Macdonald is that nobody's going to know who Norm Macdonald's voice is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Chris, it's great to have you here. The other day I was walking down the street, and so I was walking there, and well, that's pretty much it.
Rambles on for 30 minutes without getting anywhere in a conversation.
And then what was... Oh, right. So next question is from Nok Lupu. I think that's how you pronounced it. Or maybe I need to put more emphasis on the wrong syllable and say Nok Lupu. A. Robert. What element of the canon Fallout universe that hasn't been mentioned in Fallout Equestria yet would you most like to see in the story? Can be anything: a location, character, organization, species of animal, monster, weapon, or piece of tech, plot device, etc. Wow, that's a lot to choose from.
Well, no, I mean it's not one of each. It's just like what?
No. That just encompasses. So, what element of Fallout universe that hasn't been mentioned in Fallout Equestria would you like to see in the story? Oh man, that's a tough one. An element that has not been represented yet. Oh, this is just dead air. This is awful. I don't know. I don't know what element that hasn't been involved.
Well, let me try mine, which is going to be even worse. Without spoiling anything for Robert, what element of the canon show universe that isn't mentioned in FOE would you have most liked to see in the story? And I'm going to completely take a big sewing needle and just pop the balloon right now and say, unfortunately, I gave this several days thought. I can't think of anything. K-Cat did such a fantastic job of interweaving the story elements and the universe that is based on. I couldn't find anything else that was in the show, at least up to that point, that was not well represented or just represented at all within the story.
So you may know, this may turn up at some point, but what I would love to see from Fallout in Fallout Equestria is Liberty Prime. Remove Stripe.
Yep. Better wiped than striped.
That's right. Better wiped than striped. Well, that's all the listener questions we have for this week. Anything that we're forgetting about? Oh, yes, of course. So, of course, as always, you can find us, and we do engage, and I'm sure you've noticed that we've got a few more posts on our Twitter. You can find us at CriscoCast. You can also find the podcast at our Libsyn at thefollyofman.libsyn.com. Let's see here. We are on YouTube for our listeners here at Crisco Brand Biscuits is our YouTube channel, so please find us there. You can also find us on iTunes and the Google Play Store. We're getting more and more downloads there every week, which is good. Let's see here. I want to make sure we don't forget anything. Oh, update on the schedule, and you'll notice. So what we will be doing from now on here on out, we need to set a standard schedule so that we're not late on anything. We will be recording on Sundays, and episodes will be released on Wednesday. And what that does is, with my work schedule, it gives me time to passively edit over a couple days' time. And then that way I'm not rushing anything, and we have times to make sure that everything's lined up and can get things out on time. So, from now on, the structure will be we record on Sundays, and then we'll have it released on Wednesday, probably in the evenings. I know. Well, this one's going to be on time. People will just see it. They'll see it on Wednesdays, and you'll see updates on our Facebook page.
And before this comes out on Thursday, because YouTube fails again.
Yeah, I should explain that. So I did upload it to YouTube, and YouTube just, muffed it. I don't know.
YouTube's been a little bit flakier lately with some stuff, because I was on there, and it just completely... we were on there, and it just completely locked us out the last time.
Every single episode we've made or recorded is backed up completely. So if YouTube ever becomes a platform that is unreliable, or for whatever reason they decide they're going to start blocking pony content on their website, we have it, and we can, of course, upload it somewhere else. We'll find another place.
There's a few other places, so yeah, just in case. Should be fine, but just in case.
Well, I don't know what else to add. That was a great chapter. Looking forward to chapter 21. So, for Chris, I am Robert. This has been The Folly of Man. He is a Brony and I'm not, and we'll see y'all next week. What, you want to throw? You want to go? You want to throw down?
It's all over.
Oh, yeah. Do the monkey movement.
But the crowd